Hello, and thank you for joining me on this peaceful journey. Tonight, we will slowly drift into the timeless world of music through time. The journey begins with the very first sounds of humanity, a primal beat that resonated through the air, marking the birth of sound as a universal language. Feel the vibrations of the early instruments, the rhythm of the first drums, and the simple yet profound origins of music that connect us all across the ages. If you enjoy these relaxing moments, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. But for now, just breathe. Let your body relax, release any tension, and allow your mind to drift. Let's begin. Long before the age of written words and spoken language, there was sound. It was primal, raw, yet deeply entwined with the essence of life itself. In the dim light of early human existence, sound was not only a tool for communication, but a constant companion, a rhythm in the pulse of the world. The crackling of fire, the rustle of leaves underfoot, the constant rush of rain pounding against the earth. These were humanity's first teachers in the language of rhythm. In those early days, there was no distinction between the sounds of the earth and those made by human hands. Everything was part of the same vast symphony. As humans began to take shape in the world, they mimicked the sounds of nature. The rhythmic patterns of the wind as it swept through the trees, the steady drip of water falling from rocks. These all left an imprint on the early human psyche. Perhaps it was this primal connection that led humans to create their own sounds. Primitive objects, like stones, sticks, and hollow logs, became the first instruments. These rudimentary tools, often crafted with little more than instinct, began to make noise in a way that mirrored the world around them. Striking a stone against a piece of wood, a quick slap of the hand on a log. These simple actions created rhythms that echoed through time, laying the groundwork for something more profound. Perhaps these first beats were nothing more than spontaneous acts. But even in these early moments, there was a sense of purpose behind the sound. This rhythmic energy wasn't merely for entertainment or diversion, it was survival. In the sprawling forests and grasslands of the ancient world, a drumbeat or the pounding of a hollowed-out log could signal a warning. The sound of a simple beat carried through the air, perhaps alerting a tribe to an approaching storm, or marking the time to begin the hunt. In these first societies, music was already deeply tied to the rhythms of life itself. A heartbeat, steady and sure, could unify a group, setting the pace for work, for hunting, for the cycles of day and night. As these sounds spread through the ancient landscape, they began to take on meaning beyond mere survival. They became ritualistic. The beating of a drum might mark the turning of seasons or the calling of a spirit, providing a sense of connection not only with the world, but with something greater, something unseen. In the vastness of the world, there was a deep, unspoken understanding. Rhythm was the very foundation of existence. It was not just the heartbeat of a single human, but the heartbeat of the earth itself. And as humans continued to evolve, so too did their ability to manipulate sound. No longer simply mimicking the world around them, they began to shape their own rhythms, creating music, telling stories, weaving emotions into patterns that resonated deep within their souls. As these early humans beat their first rhythms, they unknowingly laid the foundations for all future music. The steady pulse of their early instruments, would reverberate through history, evolving with each new generation. From the simple pounding of sticks on wood came the intricate melodies of the future. And so, the first beat was heard, one that would echo across the ages, guiding humanity in its eternal dance with sound. This was only the beginning. The first drum beat, the first rhythm, marked the start of something far greater than simple noise. It was a discovery, a revelation that would set the stage for everything that came after. In the cradle of human civilization, the creation of sound was no longer left to nature alone. As humanity grew more connected to the earth, so too did its desire to shape and refine the sounds that filled the air. The earliest musical instruments were not just mere objects. They were the embodiments of culture, identity, and spirit. In the hands of ancient people, these instruments carried with them more than just melody. They carried meaning. Among the earliest known tools to produce music were bone flutes, simple yet profound in their construction. These early flutes, carved from the bones of animals, were more than just hollow tubes. They were channels to the divine. Some of the oldest examples discovered in the caves of Germany are over 40,000 years old. These fragile yet enduring instruments are believed to have been used not only for ritual purposes, but also as a means of communication. The sound they produced, both haunting and beautiful, would have been heard echoing through sacred spaces, connecting human beings to the world beyond. In the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, the lyre became a central symbol of culture. Crafted from wood, the strings made from animal gut, and often adorned with elaborate carvings, the lyre represented both the ingenuity of early societies and their deep reverence for the divine. As one of the first stringed instruments, it offered a new texture to the world of sound. The strum of its strings would have resonated within temples, marking important religious ceremonies and celebrations. For the Sumerians, the lyre was more than an instrument. It was an extension of their spiritual lives, embodying the relationship between the human and the divine. Moving further into the ancient world, the Egyptians, masters of both architecture and art, refined the role of music in their religious and ceremonial practices. Among their most revered instruments was the harp. Unlike the lyre, the Egyptian harp stood upright, its long wooden frame carrying the vibrations of the strings more deeply into the air. Its sound, rich and resonant, was said to be a direct link to the gods. Played during prayers and offerings, the harp's notes filled the air with divine harmony. To the people of ancient Egypt, music was an offering, a way to communicate with deities, and an essential part of the rituals that surrounded death and the afterlife. Yet, it was not only stringed instruments that shaped the soundscape of these early civilizations. Percussion instruments, simple yet powerful, also played a vital role. Early drums, made from animal skins stretched over hollowed logs, would have been used to mark the passage of time, celebrate victories, and communicate across vast distances. These percussion instruments, often integrated into military and religious ceremonies, carried with them a primal force, a steady beat that echoed through the streets, summoning people to attention or heralding the beginning of an important event. Throughout the ancient world, the role of music and its instruments extended beyond entertainment. Music was woven into the very fabric of everyday life, from the most sacred ceremonies to the rhythms of work and rest. In Mesopotamia, The first evidence of music being used in legal contexts has been found. Laws and decrees were accompanied by musical performances, perhaps to aid in memorization or to signal the importance of the message. Meanwhile, in Greece, musical education was considered a vital part of one's upbringing. The philosopher Plato famously wrote about the importance of music in shaping a person's character, believing that different scales and modes had the power to influence emotions and behavior. These early instruments, from the flutes of Europe to the stringed harps of Egypt, tell the story of humanity's evolving relationship with sound. Each instrument was a tool for more than just expression. It was a vessel carrying cultural significance, religious importance, and even social power. As these instruments began to spread across civilizations, they evolved into symbols of their creators, embodying the values, beliefs, and hopes of the people who played them. The stories carried within these instruments are more than just historical facts. They are the echoes of ancient lives. Each note played, each string strummed, each beat drummed, served as a moment of connection between human beings and the world they inhabited. These first instruments did not simply make noise. They told stories, conveyed emotions, and shaped the way societies understood themselves and their place in the cosmos. In many ways, these ancient instruments laid the groundwork for the musical traditions that would follow. They were the first steps in a journey that would span millennia, from the sacred ceremonies of ancient temples to the grand symphonies of modern concert halls. And though the sounds they produced may have faded into the past, the legacy of these instruments remains, etched into the very heart of humanity's history. Long before the rise of grand orchestras or sophisticated compositions, rhythm itself was the heartbeat of ancient societies. In the earliest days of human history, the sense of rhythm was not just a tool for entertainment. It was essential for survival, communication, and community. As humans began to form organized societies, rhythm became the pulse that connected individuals to each other and to the world around them. In Africa, rhythm has long been at the center of social life. Ancient tribal groups relied heavily on drumming to maintain order and unity within the community. The drum beat was not merely an instrument, it was a signal, a call to action. Whether used in warfare, as a means of organizing the work of the tribe, or to announce the arrival of important individuals, the drums served as a bridge between the everyday and the extraordinary. These early drumming traditions laid the foundation for the complex rhythms that would shape the music of the African continent for millennia. The deep, resonant beats were heard across the villages, offering both a sense of unity and a method for navigating the rhythms of daily life. In ancient Greece, rhythm took on a different form, but remained just as vital. In this highly structured society, the rhythms of the military were used to maintain discipline and order. The march of soldiers in perfect synchrony was not just about physical alignment. It was a rhythmic manifestation of unity and purpose. Soldiers in formation marched to the steady beat of drums or other percussion instruments, creating an unwavering cadence that reflected the disciplined nature of Greek civilization. But rhythm in Greece extended far beyond the battlefield. In the realms of theatre and storytelling, rhythmic patterns were used to structure dialogue, emphasizing key moments and creating a sense of pacing that enhanced the emotional power of the performance. Meanwhile, In the far reaches of ancient civilizations such as India, rhythms served as a spiritual guide. The religious practices of the Indian subcontinent were deeply intertwined with rhythmic cycles. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the chanting of sacred texts was not simply a vocal performance, it was rhythmic and meditative. Monks and devotees would chant in cycles, their rhythmic breathing and vocalizations designed to align the body and mind with the divine. The cyclical nature of rhythm in these spiritual practices reinforced the connection between time, the cosmos, and the human experience, helping to structure the rituals and guide the flow of sacred events. In ancient cultures, rhythm was often a communal experience. It was woven into the fabric of daily life, present in the work of the fields, the marking of the seasons, and the rituals of birth and death. In early agricultural societies, rhythmic patterns were used to signal when it was time to plant, when it was time to harvest, and when it was time to celebrate the cycles of nature. The beat of a drum or the rhythm of a chant was a constant reminder of the unbroken connection between the people and the land. Rhythm also served as a tool for storytelling. In many ancient cultures, rhythm was employed not only to structure speech, but to convey emotion and meaning. The pounding of drums during rituals and ceremonies often had a narrative function, telling the story of a people's past, their victories, and their challenges. In this way, rhythm became a means of preserving history and ensuring that the lessons of the past were passed down to future generations. The importance of rhythm extended far beyond individual communities, reaching into the realm of politics and power. In ancient Rome, rhythm was used in the streets to inspire patriotism and unify the people. The rhythmic calls of the Roman legions as they marched through the city were meant to instill a sense of pride and strength in the citizens. It was in these moments that the people of Rome felt the power of their empire coursing through them, the rhythm of their legions marching in unison, a reminder of the vastness and might of their civilization. As we reflect on the role of rhythm in ancient societies, it becomes clear that rhythm was far more than a mere auditory experience. It was a driving force that connected people to each other, to their environment, and to the divine. It created bonds between communities, marked the passage of time, and helped organize the rituals and celebrations that made up the rhythm of life. By examining the role of rhythm in these early cultures, we gain a deeper understanding of its central role in the development of human societies. Far from being a passive experience, rhythm was an active force that shaped the world around it. From the drum circles of Africa to the military marches of Greece, rhythm was the pulse that kept the heart of civilization beating. The journey from raw, instinctive sounds to organized musical expression began with the discovery of one of the most fundamental elements of music: the scale. As early humans began to experiment with the sounds they could produce, they noticed something remarkable: the ability to create different pitches and, with practice, to organize those sounds into patterns. This simple realization would mark a significant shift in the history of music, one that laid the groundwork for all future systems of harmony. In ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerians were among the first to explore the idea of musical intervals, the distance between two pitches. By experimenting with the sounds of nature and the materials around them, they discovered that certain combinations of sounds resonated more clearly than others. These early musicians likely used the harmonics of their voices, the sounds of water, or the vibrations of plucked strings to establish a basic understanding of intervals. Though they did not have a formalized system like modern scales, the seeds of one were already being sown. The idea of dividing the sounds of the world into organized, measurable intervals became a cornerstone for later developments in music. The Pythagoreans, an ancient Greek philosophical and mathematical school, took this understanding even further. Pythagoras, best known for his work in geometry, also explored the relationship between numbers and musical tones. Through careful study of vibrating strings, he realized that the length of a string directly determined the pitch it produced. By dividing a string into simple ratios, he demonstrated that musical intervals were not arbitrary, but rather rooted in mathematical principles. These findings gave birth to the concept of tonality, where each pitch could be understood as part of a larger system of relationships. As the Greeks formalized these mathematical principles, they began to organize their musical system into modes, patterns of intervals that could be used to build melodies. The most famous of these was the diatonic scale, which laid the foundation for Western music. This scale, made up of 7 distinct notes, formed the basis of what we recognize today as the major scale, the foundation of much of classical and popular music. However, the Greek system was not limited to just one scale. They identified multiple modes, each with a distinct pattern of intervals that conveyed different emotions or qualities. These modes, such as Dorian, Phrygian, and Lydian, were seen as a way to express different moods or states of being. In the East, the concept of scales developed along a parallel but distinct path. Ancient Chinese, Indian, and Persian musicians also recognized the importance of intervals and their ability to evoke particular emotions. In India, the system of ragas emerged, a complex and highly nuanced approach to scale construction. A raga was more than just a collection of notes. It was a pathway to evoke specific feelings, to call upon the forces of nature, or to enter a spiritual state. Indian musicians developed a system of microtones, dividing the octave into more than the usual 12 notes, allowing for greater expressiveness in their music. In China, the pentatonic scale, made up of 5 notes, became central to traditional music. This scale, which still underpins much of Chinese music today, reflects the deep connection between sound and nature. The 5 notes correspond to the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, illustrating the cultural belief that music, like the natural world, was governed by balance and harmony. The use of these 5 notes allowed musicians to explore a vast array of emotional and cultural themes, all grounded in the philosophical understanding of the interconnectedness of life. While these early systems were largely separate, they shared a common goal: the organization of sound to express meaning. The development of scales across different cultures was a response to the same universal need to make sense of the world through sound. Music was no longer just a reflection of the natural world. It had become a language, a complex system of expression that transcended the spoken word. As these early musical systems developed, they provided a structure for composers to create more complex compositions. In the West, the refinement of the diatonic scale paved the way for the development of harmony and counterpoint, creating the rich, layered textures of classical music. In the East, the use of ragas and pentatonic scales gave rise to elaborate, intricate melodies that were deeply tied to the spiritual and cultural life of their societies. The discovery of scales was more than just a technical achievement. It was a profound shift in human consciousness. It allowed humanity to step beyond the limitations of random sound and into a world of intentional, organized music. From these early scales, the full spectrum of musical possibilities began to unfold, setting the stage for the great compositions and musical traditions that would follow. The language of music, once so simple and instinctual, had now become something far more complex, a structured system of sound that could be used to express the deepest emotions, ideas, and experiences of humanity. Throughout human history, music has held a special place within sacred spaces, where sound becomes a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Long before the development of formal religious doctrines or organized rituals, early humans recognized the power of music to elevate the soul, evoke emotions, and foster a sense of unity with the cosmos. From the whisper of a prayer to the resounding roar of a ceremonial drum, sound has been integral to the spiritual experience, acting as both a medium and a message. In ancient Egypt, music was woven into the very fabric of religious life. Temples dedicated to the gods were not only architectural marvels, but also acoustic masterpieces. The design of these sacred spaces was often deliberate, creating a resonance that would carry the sounds of ritual music throughout the temple. The Egyptians used a wide variety of instruments in their religious ceremonies, from the delicate, melodic tones of the harp to the powerful, commanding sounds of the trumpet. These instruments were carefully chosen for their ability to evoke particular emotions and connect the worshippers to the divine. The harp, in particular, played a central role in Egyptian rituals. Its deep, resonant tones were thought to mirror the divine order of the universe. Played during prayers, offerings, and royal ceremonies, the sound of the harp filled the air, symbolizing harmony and balance. To the ancient Egyptians, music was not merely an expression of emotion. It was a tool for establishing cosmic order and inviting the gods to bless their lives. Through the resonance of their instruments, they believed they could align themselves with the forces that governed the universe. In Mesopotamia, a different approach to sacred music was found. The Sumerians, for example, used music as part of their religious rites to honor their gods and connect with the spiritual world. Instruments such as lyres, harps, and drums were used in the temples, often accompanied by chanting and hymns. Music, in this context, was not just a means of worship, but a form of divine communication. The rhythms and melodies carried the prayers of the people, and the gods were believed to respond to the vibrations of sound that filled the air. In this way, music became a sacred language, one that transcended the limitations of the spoken word. In India, music has long been an essential part of spiritual life, especially within the context of Hinduism and Buddhism. The chanting of sacred texts, often accompanied by the sound of bells, gongs, and other instruments, is a central practice in temples and monasteries. The use of music in these religious settings is not only a form of devotion, but also a pathway to spiritual enlightenment. The sounds are thought to carry the practitioner's mind away from the distractions of the material world and into a deeper state of consciousness, where the divine can be experienced more directly. One of the most prominent examples of sacred sound in India is the use of the raga, a melodic framework that forms the basis of much Indian classical music. Each raga is believed to correspond to a specific time of day, season, or mood, and it is thought to have the power to evoke particular emotions or spiritual states. In Hindu rituals, the sound of a raga, played on instruments such as the sitar or tabla, is used to invite the presence of deities and to create a sacred space for meditation and prayer. Through this music, practitioners seek to transcend the physical world and enter a realm of spiritual connection. Similarly, in ancient China, music was an integral part of religious and ceremonial practices. The pentatonic scale, with its 5 notes, was central to many of the early Chinese instruments, such as the guqin, a type of zither. These instruments were played during rituals to honor ancestors and to communicate with the spirits. In Confucian thought, music was considered one of the key pillars of a harmonious society. It was believed that by aligning oneself with the rhythm and melody of the universe, one could achieve balance and inner peace. In Western religious traditions, the role of music in sacred spaces took on a different but equally profound significance. The chanting of psalms in the temples of ancient Israel, the hymns sung in early Christian churches, and the grand choral works performed in cathedrals all served to bring the congregation closer to the divine. In the early Christian church, music played a crucial role in creating a sacred atmosphere, one in which the divine presence could be felt more strongly. The Gregorian chant, with its slow, flowing melodies, was designed to enhance the meditative quality of prayer, allowing the worshipper to focus on the sacred rather than the mundane. As societies grew more complex, the role of music in sacred spaces only deepened. In the grand cathedrals of medieval Europe, choirs and orchestras would perform elaborate works to mark religious celebrations. The acoustics of these sacred spaces were carefully designed to amplify the sounds, making them resonate more deeply with the soul. It was believed that the music, combined with the architecture, created an atmosphere that allowed worshippers to transcend the physical world and experience the divine in a more profound way. The role of music in sacred spaces extends beyond ancient civilizations to modern spiritual practices. Whether through the ringing of bells in Buddhist temples or music in church services, sound remains a powerful medium for connecting with the divine. The rise of string instruments marked a pivotal moment in music's evolution. While percussion and wind instruments were foundational, stringed instruments added new textures and melodies, reshaping how music was composed and performed for centuries. In the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, one of the earliest stringed instruments was the lyre. Made from wood, its frame often shaped like an elongated oval, the lyre's strings were crafted from gut, and it was played by plucking with the fingers or a plectrum. The Sumerians, one of the first known cultures to develop the lyre, used it in both sacred and secular contexts. Its melodies would fill the halls of palaces and temples, accompanying religious rituals and royal celebrations alike. The instrument's ability to produce both delicate, high-pitched notes and deeper, more resonant sounds made it a versatile tool for storytelling and emotional expression. As the lyre's influence spread across the ancient world, it began to evolve. In Egypt, the harps were developed, growing larger in size and more intricate in design. Unlike the lyre, the Egyptian harp was played upright, with the strings stretched over a frame. The harp, often played during royal ceremonies and sacred rites, became a symbol of wealth and divine favor. The Egyptians, much like the Sumerians, believed that music had the power to align humans with the divine order of the universe. Thus, the harp's resonant tones were not just used to entertain, but to create a spiritual connection between the earthly and the divine. In ancient China, the guqin, a 7-stringed zither, became a key cultural symbol. Played by plucking its strings, it produced a soft melodic sound that resonated with Confucian ideals of wisdom, virtue, and tranquility. It was often used in courtly settings, philosophical discussions, and spiritual practices believed to connect the player with the harmony of the natural world. Similarly, in ancient Greece, the kithara, a larger version of the lyre, played a central role in education, philosophy, and religion. Its ability to produce a range of notes made it integral to solo performances and larger ensembles, influencing Greek drama and poetry. Music began to be seen as a powerful medium for emotional expression and storytelling. As time passed, string instruments evolved further. In medieval Europe, the fiddle and rebec emerged as bowed instruments, offering a fluid, expressive sound. The rebec, in particular, was common in courts, accompanying dances, feasts, and festivities. These developments helped shape the diverse musical traditions that would follow. The violin, one of the most iconic string instruments of the Western world, emerged during the Renaissance period. Built to withstand the demands of both orchestral music and solo performance, the violin's range and expressive potential were unrivaled. Its popularity spread rapidly, and by the Baroque period, it had become a staple of the Western musical tradition. Composers like Vivaldi and Bach began to incorporate the violin into their works, exploiting its ability to produce intricate melodies and harmonies that had never before been possible. Over time, the violin family, consisting of the violin, viola, cello, and double bass, became the foundation of the modern orchestra. These instruments allowed composers to create rich, layered compositions, from delicate solos to full orchestral symphonies. The distinctive sounds of the violin and its relatives became the voice of Western classical music, expressing a wide range of emotions and narrative themes. However, the rise of string instruments did not stop in the West. In the Indian subcontinent, stringed instruments such as the sitar and sarod became central to classical music traditions. The sitar, with its resonating, sympathetic strings, creates a complex, layered sound that is capable of conveying deep emotional expression. Played in both classical Indian music and in devotional settings, the sitar has become one of the most iconic instruments in the world. Its origins lie in ancient Persian instruments, but its unique sound and playing technique have made it inseparable from Indian music. The enduring legacy of stringed instruments lies in their ability to express the full spectrum of human emotion and experience. From the earliest harps and lyres to the modern violin and sitar, these instruments have shaped the course of musical history. Whether used in sacred rituals, royal courts, or the concert halls of today, string instruments continue to offer a rich and diverse means of connecting with the world of sound. The human breath has always held a unique power. It is the essence of life itself, a symbol of vitality and spirit. It is no surprise, then, that early civilizations sought to harness this primal force, transforming it into an instrument of sound. Wind instruments, some of the earliest tools used by humans, carry the breath of life into the world of music. From the simple flute to the more complex reed instruments, These instruments became not only a way to make music, but a means to connect with the natural world, the divine, and even with one another. In prehistoric times, early humans began to experiment with natural materials, seeking to produce sound by channeling the breath. The first wind instruments were likely made from bones, reeds, and wood, materials that were readily available in the environment. One of the earliest examples of such an instrument is the bone flute, which dates back to the Upper Paleolithic period. These flutes, crafted from the bones of animals, were hollowed out to create channels for the air, allowing the breath to resonate inside. Their simple yet profound design reflects the early human understanding of sound and its connection to the breath. These instruments were not only tools of entertainment, but also likely played a role in spiritual or ritual practices, where the act of playing could be seen as a form of communication with the natural world. As civilizations began to evolve, so too did the complexity of wind instruments. In ancient Egypt, reed instruments became a staple of both everyday life and religious ceremonies. The aulos, a double reed instrument, was commonly used in Egyptian rituals, where its distinctive, penetrating sound was thought to call upon the gods. The aulos produced a sharp, intense tone, cutting through the air with a clarity that made it well suited for large ceremonial spaces. Egyptian priests often used wind instruments to mark the transitions between the mortal world and the divine, using music as a tool to facilitate communication with the gods. The breath, in this context, became a sacred medium, carrying the prayers and invocations of the people to the heavens. Further east, ancient China saw the development of its own wind instruments, which played a central role in both courtly and religious music. The dizi, a transverse bamboo flute, was one of the most important wind instruments in Chinese culture. The dizi produces a soft, ethereal tone, often used in solo performances or in ensembles to convey emotion and express philosophical ideas. The sound of the dizi was thought to reflect the natural world, mimicking the sounds of wind and water, and it was used in both secular and sacred contexts. It was also closely tied to the concept of qi, the vital energy that flows through all living things. By playing the dizi, musicians could align themselves with the flow of energy in the universe, creating a harmonious connection between the human and the divine. In India, wind instruments also played a significant role in the development of classical music. The bansuri, a bamboo flute used in traditional Indian music, has been in use for thousands of years. Its soft, airy tone is capable of producing a wide range of expressions, from serene and meditative to lively and exuberant. The bansuri is often associated with the divine, particularly in Hinduism, where it is linked to the god Krishna, who is depicted playing the flute to enchant his followers. The act of playing the bansuri in Indian music is seen not only as a musical performance, but as a spiritual act, one that connects the performer to the divine and the listener to a deeper sense of self. As ancient cultures developed more sophisticated musical systems, the role of wind instruments continued to expand. In ancient Greece, the aulos remained an important instrument, but a new breed of wind instruments emerged: the pipe and the horn. The Greek salpenks, a long, straight trumpet, was used in military contexts to signal commands and rally troops. It had a powerful, resonant sound that could carry across vast distances, making it an essential tool for communication on the battlefield. The horn, in its many variations, was used to announce the arrival of important figures or to mark the beginning of a ceremonial event. By the time of the Roman Empire, wind instruments had evolved even further. The tuba, a large, straight brass instrument, was used in military and public performances. Its deep, booming tone was meant to project authority and strength, and it became a symbol of the power of Rome. The tuba was often accompanied by other brass instruments, such as the cornu, to form large, bold ensembles that were used in both military parades and religious ceremonies. Wind instruments continued to evolve throughout the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, with the development of more complex designs and techniques. The shaum, a predecessor to the modern oboe, emerged in Europe in the 14th century. It was used in both folk music and church music, where its piercing tone was often heard in processions and religious services. The Renaissance also saw the rise of the organ, a serene wind instrument that used pipes to produce sound, and it would go on to become one of the most important instruments in Western classical music. In every culture, the breath has remained central to the creation of wind instruments. Whether it is the ethereal dizi of China, the resonant aulos of Greece, or the powerful tuba of Rome, these instruments serve as a reminder of the primal connection between the human body and the world of sound. The breath, as it passes through the instrument, transforms into music that can communicate emotion, tell stories, and connect people to the divine. In this way, wind instruments continue to carry the breath of life across the ages, echoing through time as both a symbol and a vehicle for expression. Among all the instruments known to humanity, percussion holds a special place as the most ancient form of musical expression. From the primal pounding of rocks and sticks to the sophisticated drum kits of modern times, percussion has been the heartbeat of music, resonating deeply with the earth itself. The earliest percussion instruments were not crafted from metal or finely shaped wood, but instead were derived from the natural world, hollowed logs, stones, and animal skins. These rudimentary tools produced sounds that reverberated through the earth, grounding humanity's early musical creations in the very fabric of nature. The first percussion instruments were likely created by accident, born from the rhythms of daily life. The striking of rocks or branches against one another would have made the first percussive sounds, and it is easy to imagine early humans experimenting with these rhythms, mimicking the sounds of the natural world around them. The pounding of rain on the earth, the rumbling of distant thunder, and the rustling of trees, nature's own percussion must have influenced the earliest attempts at creating music. As early humans began to develop more sophisticated tools, they began to shape materials specifically for making sound. This marked the beginning of the first true percussion instruments. In ancient Egypt, the use of percussion in religious ceremonies was well documented. The Egyptians used a variety of percussion instruments, from simple hand drums made of animal skins to large resonant gongs. These instruments were employed in rituals and ceremonies that aimed to invoke the presence of the gods and maintain the balance of the universe. The Egyptians believed that the sounds of their drums and gongs had the power to communicate with the divine, influencing both the physical and spiritual realms. Music was not merely entertainment, it was a sacred force, and percussion played a key role in the expression of this belief. As ancient civilizations spread across the globe, so too did the use of percussion. In Africa, percussion became central to social and spiritual life. African drumming traditions, which remain alive and vibrant today, are among the most complex and rhythmically intricate in the world. Drums such as the djembe, played with bare hands, and the talking drum, which could mimic the tonalities of speech, were not just instruments, they were a language. The rhythms of these drums conveyed messages, organized communities, and even helped coordinate warfare. Percussion was used to celebrate harvests, mark births, and mourn the dead, and it was the heartbeat of village life. In the Americas, percussion took on a similarly vital role. Native American cultures used a variety of drums, rattles, and other percussive instruments in their ceremonies. The drum, often made from animal hides stretched over wooden frames, was central to religious rituals, signaling a connection to the spirit world. The rhythms of the drums were believed to call upon ancestors and spirits, creating a space for communication between the physical and spiritual worlds. The ancient Greeks, with their rich tradition of theatre and dramatic arts, also incorporated percussion into their music. In Greek theatres, large drums, cymbals, and other percussion instruments were used to underscore the emotional intensity of performances. The rhythmic patterns of percussion would heighten the drama, marking climactic moments in tragedies and comedies alike. This use of percussion as an emotional and narrative tool would influence Western music for centuries to come. As time moved forward, the role of percussion instruments became more varied and nuanced. In the Renaissance and Baroque periods, percussion was often used to provide rhythmic foundation and to accentuate the other instruments in orchestras. However, by the classical period, the role of percussion had evolved. The development of timpani, kettle drums, and snare drums added new textures and complexities to orchestral music. The use of percussion in orchestras was a reflection of the growing sophistication of music, with percussion serving as a tool to express both the grandeur and delicacy of composition. In modern times, percussion has evolved into a rich and diverse family of instruments. From the snare drum and bass drum in orchestras to the elaborate setups in contemporary rock bands, percussion continues to play a central role in the shaping of sound. The introduction of electronic percussion has further expanded the possibilities, allowing musicians to create a vast array of sounds and textures that were once unimaginable. Yet, despite these innovations, the essential nature of percussion remains unchanged. The sounds of drums, cymbals, and rattles still echo with the same primal force that they did in the earliest days of human history. Percussion is the music of the earth itself, a timeless, grounding force that connects us to the natural world and to one another. In the early days of human music, sound existed only in the moment, brief, fleeting, and impossible to preserve. Songs and melodies passed from one generation to the next through oral tradition, but their very nature was transient. This all changed with the invention of musical notation, a development that would allow music to transcend time and space. For the first time, compositions could be recorded, shared, and preserved, transforming music from a personal, ephemeral experience into a lasting cultural artifact. The roots of musical notation trace back to ancient civilizations, though they were far from the sophisticated systems we use today. In ancient Mesopotamia, the earliest known attempts to represent music involved cuneiform tablets that included symbols to indicate pitch and rhythm. These marks, while rudimentary, served as the first steps toward a system that could codify music. Yet, it wasn't until the Greeks, particularly through the work of philosophers and mathematicians like Pythagoras, that the foundation for a more structured approach to musical notation was laid. The Greeks began to understand the relationships between sound frequencies and developed symbols to represent pitch, marking the beginning of music's written legacy. However, it was the Romans who, for all their accomplishments in other fields, left music largely unrecorded. Their reliance on oral tradition, though rich in its oral expression, lacked a formal system of notation which would leave future generations grappling with the ephemeral nature of their music. In the early Christian church, the need for standardized music became urgent. Monks and clerics needed a way to preserve and disseminate Gregorian chants, simple, melodic tunes sung during religious services. Around the 9th century, the church began experimenting with neumes, symbols placed above text to indicate musical direction and phrasing. These early notations were a far cry from the music scores of today, but they marked a significant step toward the codification of musical composition. By the 11th century, Guido of Arezzo, an Italian music theorist, developed a more refined system of notation that included a staff to indicate pitch. This system, known as solfege, helped musicians remember and perform chants more accurately. Guido's innovations were pivotal in shaping Western musical notation, which would eventually lead to the 5-line staff, noteheads and clefs that we now associate with written music. The creation of musical notation allowed compositions to endure beyond the memory of a single performer or community. It provided composers with the means to communicate their music across space and time, making music more accessible and universally understood. What began as a system to capture the fleeting nature of sound grew into an intricate, standardized language, one that continues to serve as the foundation of music today. As the centuries progressed, music evolved from the simple, folk-based melodies of earlier times into the intricate compositions that would define the Western classical tradition. This transformation was not a sudden event, but a gradual development influenced by changing social, political, and cultural landscapes. By the 17th century, the foundations for what would become classical music were firmly in place, and composers began to craft works of extraordinary complexity and beauty. The Baroque period, which spanned from the late 16th century into the mid-18th century, marked a dramatic shift in the role of music. With the rise of powerful courts in France, Italy, and other European nations, music began to be composed not just for the church or for the common people, but for royal and aristocratic patrons. Court composers were tasked with creating elaborate works for both private and public performances, often accompanied by elaborate staging, lavish costumes, and dramatic effects. The music of composers like Johann Sebastian Bach, George Friedrich Handel, and Antonio Vivaldi reflected this grandeur with intricate counterpoint, expressive melodies, and expansive orchestral arrangements. As Baroque music evolved, a more structured approach to composition emerged. The use of sonatas, concertos, and symphonies became increasingly common. The concerto, for example, featured a solo instrument contrasted against a full orchestra, creating a dynamic dialogue between the two. This form of musical exchange would continue to shape Western music for centuries to come. The rising importance of instrumental music, particularly within the context of the orchestra, laid the groundwork for the classical period that followed. The classical period, from the mid-18th century to the early 19th century, saw composers like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Ludwig van Beethoven, and Joseph Haydn build upon the achievements of their Baroque predecessors, creating works that were more refined, balanced, and harmonious. It was during this time that the modern symphony, sonata, and string quartet took shape. The music of the classical period was marked by clearer melodic lines, a more defined structure, and the careful use of dynamics and harmony to convey emotion and narrative. By the time of Beethoven, music had begun to shift once again as composers sought to push the boundaries of classical forms. Beethoven's symphonies, with their bold use of motifs and their emotional depth, brought classical music into the realm of personal expression. The rise of public concert halls also played a key role in this transformation. These venues, designed to accommodate larger audiences, helped popularize orchestral performances and provided composers with new opportunities to showcase their works. The 19th century marked the height of the Romantic era, where composers continued to expand the scope and complexity of classical music. Yet, even as new genres and styles emerged, the influence of the earlier classical period remained. The music of this time, both in the concert hall and at royal courts, was a celebration of human achievement, intellectual depth, and emotional richness. As our journey through the evolution of sound comes to a close, allow yourself to sink even deeper into relaxation. From the simple beats of ancient drums to the complex harmonies of modern orchestras, the music of the past continues to echo in our lives today. Let these timeless melodies wrap you in a sense of calm and peace as your breath flows naturally and effortlessly. Rest here, fully supported in this safe and serene space, reflecting on the profound impact music has had across generations. If you enjoyed this relaxing moment, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and turning on all notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. But for now, let your body relax, release any tension, and allow your mind to drift. Good night and sleep well.